Currently in the city, there are roughly 121,000 licensed livery vehicles. That's right here in New York. 80,000 of which are already registered with ride-share apps. But those other cars, not yet. Uber also says this new law will hurt customers, especially those outside of the borough we call Manhattan. There are 4 other boroughs with lots of people. Nearly 60% of Uber rides dispatched in New York City are outside of Manhattan. Here to discuss this are Kristin Tate, author of How Do I Tax Thee? And back with us is Maddie Duppler. Kristin, let me start with you because Washington, D.C. raised its rideshare tax from 1% to 6%. New York City, you know, it's taking this freeze right now, but it could drive up prices and it could leave people in the outer boroughs stranded. Will other cities do this, or is this the right thing to do or wrong thing to do?
Well, that's what's so scary about this, Adam. This is setting a scary precedent for other bureaucrats in other cities that want to crack down on ride-sharing services. I mean, this is like local governments capping the number of light bulbs to protect candle makers in the early 20th century. Uber and Lyft have been so successful at poaching business from taxis because they offer a better service at a better price. Ride-sharing is also great for jobs. Uber alone has produced hundreds of thousands of flexible jobs that let drivers work their own hours and make a little extra income. But of course, New York City bureaucrats want to force consumers to use inferior taxi services. This is all about protecting the taxi cartel and the city's failing public transportation. Maddie,
let me weigh in, let you weigh in on what you just heard. But I want to just point out that in the discussion about this yesterday, the argument was made, though, that a lot of these Uber drivers are on public assistance of some sort of not because the wages are so low. So respond to what you just heard, and is that a valid complaint? Because look, you and I, the taxpayer, are paying for food stamps.
Oh my gosh, it's just like Kristin said, this is a cartelization of the taxi cab industry in bed with local bureaucrats and trying to enrich their own interests. This is ridiculous. This is regulatory capture at its most extreme. And New York, of course, knows all about this. This is exactly how they confront new technology to the peril not only of the people who are driving for Uber, but also for the people who are using it. Now, to your comment about people being on assistance driving for Uber, a majority, overwhelming majority of Uber drivers drive Uber or Lyft or ride sharing as a secondary form of income. They have other jobs, they have other means of earning a living, and that's the reason that it is so attractive. Right. It allows people to use capital they've already invested in, their own cars, use their own time outside of traditional work in order to make some extra money. Good for people who take it upon themselves to find an extra job and make a little bit of extra earning money. Good for them.
So, Kristin, you know, the city council here in New York, which some of us call the Politburo on occasion, may have actually shot itself in the foot with what it did, and here's why. They raised the minimum wage, which Uber, by the way, supported, to $17.22 an hour for their drivers. The 41,000 livery vehicles we talked about at the beginning of the segment, the drivers who drive those cars don't have, they didn't apply the $17.22 to those men and women. So their wages are actually still below that. However, Uber's now going to be recruiting them, and it's going to raise their wages. But you know, you just had the city council pick winners and losers, and the winners were the Uber drivers, not the livery car drivers.
No, that's exactly right. And the big losers here are New York City residents who are going to be dealing with higher costs and wait times. But you know what, Adam? Maybe this is what they deserve because they continually vote for liberals who demand more and more of New York City taxpayers. But look, I'm a millennial. Our lives have been completely transformed by this sharing economy. And you have Democrats, people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, who have actively tried to stifle and strangle this kind of growth. So I would love to see Republicans and conservatives talking about this issue more. They have a responsibility to shine a spotlight on a free market that's really driven by fast-moving technology and how Democrats are threatening the benefits of that free market.
Maddie,
so I would love to see this enter the conversation.
Kristin, we're out of time. Maddie, I apologize that I can't go to you because anything that involves cars is my favorite subject, and I'm happy to keep talking about it. Maybe one day we'll get Studebakers back on the street here.
Unfortunately, we're going to have this problem again. We're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, City Council will say we got to save Studebaker. Thank you very much. Warfare is hitting new heights as Vice President Pence announces a detailed plan for the U.S. Space Force. I actually get the honor of discussing those plans with former astronaut Scott Kelly next.